You need to work it out on your own. You can take a screenshot of the question at any time, but you need to work it out on your own. Right, I'm going to move down to the journals now. Oh, are you feeling terrible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but I don't think they're going to do this one in the exam again. I think they're going to give you the other one that I'm going to do now. Just scroll a little down. Okay. Thank you, Ty. Practice, practice, practice. You see, Crystal, it doesn't matter if they give me 5 things that I did for the correspondent. All right. Okay. Now we are going to do the question where we receive the statement. We receive the statement. What do we do when we receive the statement? Who am I? Which hat am I wearing when I receive the statement and the EFT? Which hat am I wearing when I receive? I am now wearing the hat of the instructing attorney. I'm the instructing attorney. I sat on my bum in George and I did not do anything. I am getting a small portion of the fees, either the 20% or the 1/3. That is my fees. When I receive the statement, I open up my toolbox and I apply the following tools. Now, I want you to listen to me very carefully. The first thing that I deal with is the EFT that comes my way. I will hold it in trust. I will hold it on behalf of that instructed attorney.
I got 0 for question 1.
Don't tell us, Devonia, about your 0 for question 1. Let me mute you. Step 1 is to deal with the EFT amount that came into trust. I will hold it on behalf of the correspondent attorney, the instructed attorney, not my client. Step 2, I will deal with the collected amount. I'm going to record the money value of what the correspondent attorney collected on behalf of my client. I'm only recording money value. Step 3. I'm going to add up all the costs. It doesn't matter if they give me a statement with 3 matters. I'm going to add up all the costs and the VAT and the disbursements. That is what correspondent charged and what client is liable for. Step 3, I add up all the costs, the fees, the VAT, the disbursements, the sheriff, the council, the tracing agent. I know, Zama. I saw it. I saw you using these steps for that question in March 2023. When I receive the statement, I apply these steps. Step 4, my allowance, my fees. Where do I charge my fees? I charge my fees in a fee journal. Let's quickly do a recap. When I get the statement and the EFT that comes from the statement, I'm the attorney who sat on its bum and didn't do anything. I received the statement from the instructed attorney and the EFT. I receive the EFT in trust and I hold it on behalf of the correspondent. not my client. Step 2, I look at the statement, I see the cash collected. The cash was collected by the correspondent on behalf of my client. I'm recording the money value of what correspondent collected on behalf of my client. Step 3, I add up all the costs, the fees, the VAT, the council fees, the default judgment, sheriff, the tracing agent. That is what correspondent charged and what my client is liable for. Step 4, I deal with the 1/3 allowance or the 20% allowance, my piece of the pie, my portion of the fees. I charge my fees in my fee journal. The corresponding attorney, the instructed attorney, is responsible for sharing that fees with me. He becomes my business debtor. Any questions? Do you understand the theory? We must now move on from the mistakes that we made then. These things happen. Step 1, deal with the EFT amount. At the bottom, first column at the bottom. Hold it in trust on behalf of correspondent. Step 2, the cash that was collected, the collected amount. Correspondent collected it on behalf of my client. I'm recording the money value of what was collected. I didn't collect it. It's not a cash transaction for me. Step 3, all the costs and disbursements and fees are added together. Correspondent charged it. My client is liable for it. Step 4, my fees, my piece of the pie. I charge my fees in my fee journal. These are the rules I take out. This is the toolbox this is the rules I take out of my toolbox when I receive a statement. Are we clear? Do you understand it? Do you have any questions? Oh, I don't like this part of the lesson. The energy is so everywhere, and then we come here and then it's just depleted and gone. Are you still listening to me?
We
Yes.
still here, Rosa.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right.
We still here. I stand to be corrected though. I think, well, for me, or maybe most of my colleagues will agree, it's at this stage where we now starting to try and find the differences between instances where we're sending the statement and receiving it. And so
Okay.
just
And the only
trying to
thing
identify
that
the tools.
the only thing that you have to look at is these words here. Look out for these words. Who instructed you? Who you have instructed. So let us do a double one, where there's 2 matters. Or even 3 matters, it doesn't matter. Let us do a double one. Let me first see if there's any comments on the chat. Okay, you're all still here. Okay, we've already done the rules. It's just a matter of you putting your rules in your toolbox and taking it with you to the exam. Yes, you follow the statement, you follow the steps and not the statement. You follow the steps. Don't mourn. We must get over March now. We are preparing for August. Let's get over March. Don't mourn. Step 1, deal with the EFT amount. So just like somebody, let me just check who's that person. That's a brilliant statement. Tobile says, don't follow this. In this case, we don't follow the statement sequence. In this case, we follow the step sequence. Step 1, deal with the EFT amount. Because when the correspondent sends you the statement, he also does the EFT. The EFT must go in trust. We hold it on behalf of the instructed attorney. Trust cash book, you're an asset. The asset is increasing. We know that the trust cash book is an asset and the asset always increases on the debit side. We hold it. Oh, Di doesn't like my colors because then she can't see them on her screen. We hold it on behalf of the correspondent attorney. He becomes a trust liability in our trust books. We don't hold it on behalf of client. This is not client's money. Do we all understand how to record step 1? Yes, this is the last question, patients, and then we're just going to discuss a little bit about the exam, and then we're going to leave. Do we all understand step 1?
Please go over step 1 again.
All right. Step 1, deal with the EFT amount. This is at the bottom of your statement, and it's the EFT that the correspondent attorney, the instructed attorney has sent you. You're going to hold it in trust. Comes into the trust cash book, and you're going to hold it on behalf of the instructed attorney. That is step 1. Step 2, deal with the cash that was collected. Here's step 2. Deal with the cash that was collected. So let me first just go over the statement again. Step 1, this EFT amount is here at the bottom always. In the first column at the bottom, it will say EFT herewith. Deal with the EFT amount. Step 2, it will say by cash or cash collected. You deal with the cash amount. Step 3, remember when we drafted the statement, whatever we charge, we put this side. Fees, we pay the sheriff, default judgment. This is what the correspondent is saying. I charge a fee, I pay the sheriff, I charge a fee for default judgment, collection commission, I charge VAT, consulting, I pay the sheriff and counsel fees. Correspondent, charge this fees, client is liable for. This here is your allowance and the VAT on it. Do you all understand how to read this statement? This is the statement I receive from the instructed attorney. Step 2, deal with the cash that was collected. It is not a cash transaction for us. We are dealing with the cash that was collected by the correspondent on behalf of your client, Homer.